Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Let's get started. Dave Zingaro and then Paul Domowich.
Morning, Doug.
Morning.
We're 3 weeks out from the season opener. Compared to a normal season, how far is this team from being ready? And does it feel kind of daunting to have a game looming this quickly?
Yeah, when you think about 21 days, I think about really 10 days of camp left. And then you're into game week, and you're making some roster moves. Within the next 10 to 14 days, and it feels a little different. Obviously, things have moved along and kind of sped along. But this is everything that we anticipated. This has been my messaging to the team the whole time. Again, we continue to work every single day. I am pleased where the team is at right now, but there's still some things we have to work on in practice this week coming up in order to be fully prepared for that first week.
Paul and then Zach.
Yeah, Doug, I wanted to ask you about your staff. You've got quite a few ex-NFL players that are assistants. You've also added people like Sproles and players like that to help out. You're an ex-NFL player. You've talked before about, the advantages in that locker room sometimes to having that experience. Can you talk about it once more, just about the built-in benefits for these guys of having played the game?
Yeah, I've been blessed, obviously, to have full-time staff members. I think obviously the Deuce Staley, Justin Peel, Tim Houck, guys that have played obviously at this level. That are also position coaches now, and there's something to say for guys that have played this game that are now coaches, because they can obviously lean on their experiences as a player, which can help teach the younger player how it is to be a pro. And then I think about that next group of guys. Obviously Connor Barwin is here. We have Brent Selleck that comes into the building. We have Darren Sproles who is helping with us during camp, and then now Jason Avant who is with us this camp. And these guys now, where a position coach may not be in the locker room as much, these guys can really embrace the team and really the younger player, again teaching them what it means to be a pro. But I think more importantly too, what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle and representing our city, our fans. And it's so important for these guys for me to have these guys around our players.
Zach and then Tim.
Hey, Doug, in practice on Friday, it looked like the defensive line had a really good day, but it happened against your offensive line. Is your read on that more the strength of the defensive line, or is there concern about your offensive line after that practice?
No, it was the first time to go, live, I guess, and really I did two different groups. The first group was not a live situation because I wanted guys to practice the whole day. The second group was more of a live, tackle to the ground group. Obviously I'm not concerned. It's just the way it's the ebb and flow of training camp. It's the way things go this time of the year, and our offensive line has been doing a great job. I'm not concerned with what happened there, during practice or towards the end of practice. What I am, obviously preaching hard, and this is both sides of the ball, or the pre-snap penalties that we have to address and have to eliminate. The defensive offsides or the false starts, things of that nature that obviously either keep our opponent on the field or backs us up offensively. Those are things that we have to work through and eliminate. But not concerned at this time, with where our offensive line is. I think they're doing an outstanding job.
Tim and Mike.
Hey, Doug, year 5 for Carson. What areas of growth are you kind of focusing in on? What kind of goals have you helped set for him?
With Carson, obviously just, he's got another set of, skill guys around him, a young group of guys. What I've seen and what we've talked about a lot is just his leadership with those guys, kind of carrying over what he did last year with those young players, and how he can kind of shape and mold and which is great to see, because these young guys are asking him questions, when they're in there with him, and And that's something that Carson has embraced and will continue to embrace as a leader of the team. And for Carson, it's just a matter of just running the show, running the offense, running the team. He's going into his 5th year. He knows how to play this game. He plays it just like a professional. Obviously, he knows how to play. He's aggressive. We got to maintain that aggressiveness, and just I think with just continuing to teach and maybe part of the injuries that he's gone through in the last couple of seasons, things that he can learn from. Things that we've talked about, in this setting here that he's learned from, and you see that out on the field. And obviously, it's a one day at a time mentality for he and I. It's a one game mentality once we get into the regular season, and that's what we focus on.
Mike, and then Kristen.
Doug, with Zach in Dallas and Miles in Boston both out, what are you seeing from the young players at tight end and running back who are in their place?
Yeah, obviously it's a great opportunity for these young players to step up and practice, get some great reps with Carson, the 1 offense, 2 offense, and I think Noah at tight end has done an outstanding job. He's a smart kid. He's picked up the offense extremely well. He is learning the ins and outs of technique and just how maybe big and fast a defensive end BG might be, or Vinny Curry, guys like that, Josh Sweat that he's going against. So he's doing a really nice job there. I think about the running backs. Elijah Holyfield, who's getting a little bit of a time now with both Miles and Boston. Sort of day to day. And it's a great experience to be out there with Elijah and really Michael Warren, to be in that first huddle, right? Listening to Carson, listen to the communication. That's the only way that these guys can get better and understand this game. And it's been in the same way with the receivers, right? Being in that first huddle just goes a long way, because they typically, probably wouldn't be playing in the first group if we were playing preseason games, right? So this is valuable experience for them. It's been great to see, and they've done a nice job.
Kristen, and then Bo.
Good morning, Doug. As we've mentioned, 3 weeks away from the season opener. Maybe this is more for some of the young guys who aren't getting that taste of preseason games. But is there any intangible that you need to introduce in camp and in the upcoming weeks, just because you guys won't have had that experience of a preseason game?
Yeah, it's something that I talk a lot with the team about, and it's just the sense of urgency. It's understanding where we are, and I just keep bringing up the fact that, hey, we're X amount of days away. Like today, we're 21 days. I mean, we're kicking it off, for real, 21 days from now, and that sense of urgency, I think, with the entire team. That's with coaches too. That's not just with the players. It just and I've got to continue to put that out in front of the team. We've got to be able to see that. That's something that we've got to be able to touch. It's real. It's where we are. I mean, it's where every team is at, quite frankly. And so that to me is the one thing that I have to continue to just reiterate with the guys. We're getting close, and sense of urgency has to be at an all-time high.
Oh, and then Les.
Hey, Doug. It's been a while since you've had as many new faces in the offensive coaching room. With guys, a young guy like Press taking more of a lead, and an older guy like Marty. How are the dynamics in that room as you guys sort of all get to know each other?
It's been seamless. It's been flawless. It's something that Press has done an outstanding job. He's in lack of better words, he's coordinated the offense this summer during training camp. He and Rich work, side by side and putting things together. One of the things that, I think having Marty now, on staff is just Marty's another set of eyes for us. He's a great sounding board for me, as with him being a former head coach and coordinator, somebody that Press can obviously talk to and lean on, and then we just lean on the staff members who have been here, with Deuce Staley and Justin Peel, obviously Jeff Stoutland, guys like that who have been here. Aaron Moorhead has done an outstanding job with these young receivers that are out there playing, and it's been it's been a really good mix of guys, great ideas flowing, and something that I look forward to when we really start game planning with these guys, in the fall.
Les and then John McMullen.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, Les.
Going back to what Zach Berman was talking about a little while ago about the defense looking like it's ahead of the offense at this point or in the practices last week. Is that going to be the way it is in the early going this year in the NFL? Is it harder to get the offense really flowing and in sync than it is to put together a defense and have it play coherently, do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like a baseball season where hitters are sometimes ahead of pitchers, early in the season, and then till the pitchers get in their groove and their rhythm, and and obviously with a couple of weeks of padded practices and being limited in what we can do, I think it's going to be that way. I think early, possibly early in the season, but one thing that we've got going for us here, and probably many teams around the league, is the veteran presence, on offense that. Or a staff that hasn't changed over a lot of terminology and a lot of things that we haven't, we've introduced some new concepts and some new things, but for the most part, 95% of our offense is in, and it's repetitive. So the guys can just get better at what we do. And that's what we have to lean on probably early in the season until, we catch our groove a little bit.
You got time for one more, and then we'll get Carson in. So go ahead, John.
Morning, Doug. Last time we talked to Carson, he was talking about Darius Slay, and he said he's different. As a former quarterback, what made you notice opposing corners and kind of realize they were on the field and you might have to look the other way?
Yeah, I think number one, you definitely look at their size, their physical, their traits, their height, weight, speed, length of arm. That's all. Those are all things that obviously you can measure. Obviously, pass breakups, interceptions. When you watch tape, guys don't have free releases against really good corners because of their length and their arm length and things like that. And and they play with a lot of confidence, and that's who Darius Slay is. I mean, he plays with a ton of confidence out on the field, and he's a guy that we're fortunate to have and have had him and brought him onto our roster, and it just makes it harder for offenses to utilize the whole field, because when you can have one area of your field or a receiver either taken away or limited, it challenges, because now you're focused on the other half of the field, and that can be a challenge at times. But I just think back to the days that when I played and saw some great corners, that it just made it that much harder for offenses to execute.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Carson, thanks for taking the time. Let's get started with Daniel Gallen and then Martin Frank.
Morning, Carson. Doug just talked about how the team's sense of urgency with the season opener 3 weeks away needs to be at an all-time high. How do you balance that urgency with, not being sloppy and kind of still getting everything done you need to?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that we're trying to balance every day. But the reality of the situation is we are just a few weeks out. And so the urgency, like Coach said, is something that I've personally stressed around here, and I know Coach has as well. And so it's a fine line. We're only a handful of practices in, so it still feels like it's early in training camp. But things are obviously different this year, but we also recognize that everyone's going through the same kind of situation right now. So, again, it's a fine line of handling that, but it's just continuing to emphasize to everybody, and especially a lot of the young guys, that we don't have a lot of time here, that we got to really, focus and hone in on our craft so that we're ready come a couple weeks from now.
Martin, and then Jeff Skaversky.
Hey, Carson, I know you get asked a lot about how things are working out between you and the young wide receivers and everything. But I was kind of wondering, how's it been working with you and Deshaun? I mean, it doesn't seem like he's been on the field a lot for the team drills and everything. And I was just kind of wondering, since you didn't have pretty much all last season with him, how that chemistry is coming about with Deshaun and what you've seen from him.
Yeah, the thing about Deshaun is he makes it easy for me. I mean, when you create the amount of separation that he does, he makes it easy. But I feel really good with being on the same page as him. Even last year when he was hurt for a while, we were always talking to each other and just talking how we saw the game and understood things. And so I feel like when we do get the reps out there, that we're right on cue. And I really like seeing where he's at. Obviously as a veteran, coach is being smart with how he uses guys in camp and everything. But D-Jack looks great. I feel great with him personally on the field and off the field. So I'm excited to hopefully get a full 16 games out of each other this season.
Jeff, and then Dave Zingaro.
Hey, Carson, hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask you, without these preseason games, what are the challenges for this team and really everyone around the league to be ready for a regular season? And do you have to change your approach in training camp at all and tweak things just so you're prepared for these game-like actions, even though I know you don't really have been playing the preseason the last few years, but do you have to change anything in there to make sure that you're even ready?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it is different for everybody. Obviously, me not playing in preseason the last few years might mean a little something different to me than maybe some of these young guys. I know I valued those preseason games, especially early in my career, to kind of just get your feet wet and get used to, being in the stadiums and going through pregame and just kind of all of that that comes with that. So obviously there's really nothing you can do. Coaches can kind of try and put us in those scenarios and get us to experience that as much as we can. But I think the biggest thing is just for these young guys, it's how do you get them ready? But I mean, obviously you can't physically have those preseason games. So it will be a true test for everybody come week one. But that's just where we're at right now. And that, like you said, everyone's going through it. So try and not make it a huge deal and just remember it's still football. But there will naturally be those pregame jitters and different things and lots of emotions going on for everybody come week one. And maybe, a little higher this year than years past because of, the lack of preseason.
And if you had to tweak anything, like as far as your approach?
I have not, no. I have not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Dave Zangaro and then Jeff McClain.
Hey, Carson, now that you've had some practice time with the 3 draft pick receivers, what are some things you've learned about each of them?
Yeah, I love, all 3 of their mentalities. I think they both, they want to be great. They ask a lot of questions. They, it's just good to see, mistakes are going to happen, from me, from everybody, but it's good to see their willingness to learn and improve every day. And obviously, like we've talked about, we've only had a handful of practices so far, and we're just a couple weeks out, but, we're making the most of the reps that we do get. And I see a lot of quickness, a lot of explosiveness from all 3 of those guys, the ability to stretch the field and create separation. So I'm excited to see all 3 of them continue to come into their own and, keep learning mentally and physically, how to be a pro and everything. And I've seen a lot of good things from all 3 of them.
Okay, Jeff McClain and then Les Bowen.
Carson, last week, Jalen Reagor said that you compared him to Julio Jones, and I was wondering what it was specifically that you saw in him that reminded you of such a great receiver.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, Julio, I think he's the best. I think he's one of the best at the very least. So by no means am I saying this rookie is Julio Jones right now, but, just the way that Jalen, his combination of speed and power, and just, watching tape of Julio, and I see some similarities with how they run routes, and I think there's a lot to learn from watching a guy like Julio that I've really challenged Jalen to kind of dissect his game and try and model it to some extent, which, in my opinion, there's no better, player to model it after than, arguably one of the best receivers in the game right now. So, by no means was I saying he's at that level. I would never say that to a guy like Julio, but, it's really a feather in the cap to Julio because of, his greatness and what I see the potential for Jalen to be and how he really moves and runs routes and, his explosiveness that he brings to the table.
Okay, Les Bowen and then Tim McManus.
Hey, Carson, I know you've talked a little bit about this, but with these young receivers, you have an opportunity here to sort of build relationships that can last a long time. They're not here for just a year or 2 years. They didn't, grow up in somebody else's system or anything like that. How much thought have you given to that, and what sort of do you have to kind of be different than you were before you had these young guys? You have to be more, show them more leadership, more guidance maybe than in the past?
I wouldn't say I've had to change, many things. I think naturally just being in my 5th year and everything, the leadership kind of just comes into its own even more every year. So I think that's kind of a natural progression, but it is definitely something I've thought of and talked with these couple guys about quite often. I think we just the cool part of, developing them within our system, and, me personally getting to work with them from the jump, once they were drafted here, and just how exciting that is to develop a rapport over not just this year, but going forward for hopefully a long time. Is something that I've expressed to them that I'm excited about, and I think they are as well.
Okay, we have time for 2 more, so let's go Tim McManus and Zach Berman.
Carson, what kind of goals have you set for yourself for year 5? What areas of growth have you kind of keyed in on this offseason?
Yeah, I think, we talk a lot about it as, the red zone and third downs, and those are some that the rest of my career is going to be a goal. And, we want to be at the top, one of the top 5, offenses in the red zone and on third downs. But I think offensively, my personal goal, and I think everybody's, is just to create more explosive plays. I think last year we had a ton of, really long sustained drives, and that's incredible. Those things I don't look, I look for those things to still happen, but to be able to have some of those explosive plays down the field or those catch and run plays, I think coaches have done a really good job of, building that and, trying to put us in the best position for those explosive plays, and we have the right pieces in place for that. So, I'd love to see some more first and second down explosive plays down the field, whether that's short throws that guys can catch and run or big plays down the field. That will really just help open up our offense for everything else that we can do.
Okay, let's close it with Zach Berman.
Hey, Carson, in the past, you said obviously you're not looking to run or you're not looking to scramble, but last season you were really scrambling at the 2017 rate. Is that a part of your game that you want to continue to feature? And do you see it as you're healthier and stronger now that you can perhaps do it more?
Yeah, I think, scrambling around anytime you can extend a play and make a play, I think it puts a lot of stress on the defense, so that's something that I never really want to lose. I never want to take out of my game, if read, my first, second read's there, by all means, I want to get rid of the ball. I want to get it out of my hands and get it to my playmakers. But when things break down, I've said it, since I came into the league, that there's just big plays to be had when things break down and you can extend plays and guys get open down the field. And we do a really good job around here of, coaching up guys and guys, playing to the whistle. And so, like I said, there's always big plays to be had there, and it's something that I don't seek, but when it comes, I'm always looking to find a way to make that play.
Okay, thank you, Carson. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. God bless.